In today's world where things move at instantaneous speeds, we often need the opportunity to slow down, to pause, and to ask not only how should we do something, but why should we do it?
The research that we're doing and the data that we're producing, they're useful to inform policy and to basically educate the public as a whole on the quality and environment that we live in. If we don't monitor the quality environment, we don't know when and if there are problems and the magnitude of them. We as Christians see the world as a connected whole, and we're called to care for creation, but we see that it's connected to the flourishing of our city as well. And so we want to do this research with both of those focuses in mind.
In the tradition of Redeemer, Scripture is the authoritative norm for all of life. It gives us the true story of the whole world. The book of Judges is an interesting book at a very specific time in history, but it gives us a window into God's people living in God's place, trying to live out God's intention for the world. The book of Judges matters because, as Philip Reef says, culture making is the translation of sacred order into a social order. But it's a good reminder for God's people today. How do we be God's people for the sake of the world?
At Redeemer University, we care about this kind of research because we believe that God has laid out certain guidelines, certain boundaries for our behavior. And something that my research speaks to is how specific religious beliefs and practice help young people specifically live up to those standards.
Simple reality is in the day-to-day run and ebb and flow of politics and of business, research is often used for many, many different means. And when you think about research, you think about being objective. But the reality is there is a subjective kind of commitment that kind of runs as a current underneath the water behind most research.
We have the privilege here at Redeemer of asking the deep questions about the wellspring of our public life. But the consequences of those questions is felt deeply and often quite specifically downstream. So the big questions that we face and the big research that we do at the top of the watershed filters down, trickles down eventually until it hits the everyday lives of people. So big ideas, big questions, they do matter, and they have a trickle-down effect, often in surprising and unusual ways. We at Redeemer have the opportunity not just to look at that wellspring of ideas, the root of which we call the gospel, but also to look at how does that affect our neighbors in very concrete, very practical ways. Universities, research institutes, we're just a slice of culture and cultural change, but we're a pivotal one if we're going to get there with something to say.